So let us go back and see a couple of models. So this was our diagram. This gave us our first brainstorming, and this is the output of our brainstorming session. And then we tried to split the requirement into different pieces, and we got about 4 to 5 pieces. And then what we did was we wrote a skeleton code. Before writing skeleton code, we wrote what are the interfaces, and these interfaces were put in the skeletal code, and we just ran the skeletal code so that the flow is fixed. And once we have the flow fixed, and now it's like we can fill in the rest of the things. So it's just like sketching people or something like that. So I just sketch outlines first, so that is a skeleton code, and then you try to fill up colors or fill up more details into that particular part. Say if you're drawing face, you just draw a circle and then you make out eyes, nose and things like that, and then you try to fill up the eyes, because you don't have to worry about the positioning of these items in the face. Or else if you start directly writing eyes, what happens is maybe the nose will be placed in a slightly different position, and it looks awkward once you finish the drawing. So similarly, so that is the approach in the software as well. So once we have the requirement, we try to put it in on a paper, and then we try to connect the dots, and then we make sure that that the basic skeleton code is working, and then we fill in the code. Okay, so that is the analogy you can take away from our skeletal code, and then making it into different modules. Okay. So this was the output we got in the beginning of the project. And then we'd also did a flow diagram. The same diagram is similarly put on in a formal way. So this is called flow diagram. And then what we did was we tried to attack each one of the modules. So we took news, and we did it through something called as web scraping. So web scraping is nothing but the key parts to remember in web scraping is first thing, you need to download the page. Second thing, you need to parse it. Why is parsing needed? That is because the web pages are typically in HTML format. So HTML format can be converted into tree format. So from the tree format, you can that is called as parsing. That is like from the basic text you are trying to arrange things in a data structure, nice data structure. The data structure is nothing but a tree in this example, and then we try to parse it through, so we can get particular nodes for the values for a given node and things like that. So that is about parsing. Then what we do is we go through each of the node and try to filter what we require. So in our case, parsing and extraction is done in the same line. That is because the library gives us more control over the parsing, and then we can parse only the things which we require. Okay, so that is about we used a library called as Beautiful Soup. So it is widely used in parsing HTML, XML, and such structured data. So in fact, you can do it with other libraries such as LXML, or there are several HTML libraries. You can use that, but the concept is the same thing. But it is just that we do not try to reinvent the wheel. So it's called as DRY principle. DRY means do not repeat yourself. So there are already libraries. Why do you want to reinvent the wheel? Okay, so only thing that we need to focus is we need to write our own logic, except that we try to imbibe things all over from the internet or any libraries that are present. Okay, that is the idea. So, and then we looked at the tree, and then we looked at how we create XLS. So this is one of the simple things, but we struggle a lot because we try to map the input data into Excel sheet. In order to do that, we need to understand how Excel is realized in object oriented way. And then there are several libraries which abstract those objects for us, and then they provide us the interfaces to write data into the rows and columns. So we saw that the entire Excel sheet was a workbook, and inside the workbook we had Excel sheet, and inside the inside the sheet we had rows and columns, and rows and columns are denoted or accessed using integers. So one of the key points to remember is we try to enumerate our dictionary. So enumeration is nothing but giving numbers, just like dragging serial numbers in an Excel sheet. So we just enumerate it so that we can address the keys and values in terms of numbers. So then we try to write into the Excel sheet using for loop. So first column contained the state name, the second column contained active number cases. Okay, so what you can do is I can share the code on GitHub. What you can do is you can add one more column. So in order to do that, you need to change a few functions and play around with that. So then you will get an idea about how you are trying to play around with the data. Okay, so that is about Excel sheet. And then what we did was we had a subscriber model. So we had hard coded values where we had subscriber data in as a subscriber email ID as a key, and the values as the list of states. So we can traverse through that, and then we extract the data. We are reusing a function called something like get statewise data or something like that. So we pass the state name, and we get total number of active cases. So that is what we did. We just reused it from our first module. So that is about reusing the code. So that is about all these 3 to 4 modules. In today's class, we'll focus and attack the final module. So that module is nothing but email. So in order to do that, we need to understand what is email service, and how email is structured, and how this Gmail, Yahoo Mail, your Outlook, all these things work. So we'll understand that the reason that we need to, in fact, you can just copy paste the code from internet and make it work. The problem appears when we try to do something more than what is already there in the code. For example, you need to format the text. Maybe you need to send BCC to some people. Maybe you need to send user specific mail. Maybe you need to handle cases where you need to check the inbox for expired email IDs, and then you need to find out whether I'm able to send mail. So this kind of there are several use cases. So this can be done only by understanding how the things work and then breaking into that. It's like hacking. Hacking is nothing but to understand one thing in a certain depth, so that we can play around with that, and then try to manipulate that. So that is what we are trying to do. So we are going to hack into the email module, and how email is sent, and then we will try to realize that in the code. Okay, so I'll just show you this is from Wikipedia. So this is the protocol. So first thing we need to understand is how the mail is sent and received. So what is a mail service, and why the protocols are required, and then what are the standard formats. Okay, so let us go back to say about in the beginning of 90s. So if you remember, there was a service called email service called as AOL, American Online. So what they used to do is you had to create your username, and then just like normal mail, today's normal mail service, they had a mail service, and then people used to exchange messages. So that was a breakthrough. That is because during 90s we still had a telegram service running around, and then we had all this trunk call on telephone and all these things. So in fact, in order to connect to a trunk call, you had to wait a couple of minutes. That is like maybe like 5 to 10 minutes, because when you had to dial a call from say Bangalore to Singapore, or to even to Delhi, so the phone you had to dial up the nearest trunk call number, that is like a telephone exchange, and the telephone exchange guys will in turn connect you to the Delhi exchange, and from there Delhi exchange, that person will connect you to the person who you intend to talk. So this is the trunk call. So it used to take like 5 to 10 minutes just for a phone call. So, so parallel there was advent of internet, and people were trying a lot of different ways to talk via internet. So America Online was like pioneer in email service, and then it was a breakthrough. That is because you didn't have to wait for so long. So within seconds you send a mail, and then the mail is already there in your inbox within seconds. So it is faster than Telegram obviously, and then it was faster than the telephone. So how was that achieved? And then the problems is that now American Online was using a certain protocol which was proprietary, and then there was Yahoo Mail service, and then in I think in 2002 or 2004 I guess there was Gmail, and today everyone uses Gmail. So there was Rediff, there is of course Rediff, and there's so many mail services. So if you send a mail from rediff.com or Rediff mail to your Gmail, so we can receive a mail. So it doesn't matter from where you're sending a mail, and you can receive in your email box, and you can send as well. So how is this interchange between two different companies or two different servers are achieved? So these are the challenges that comes in along with the advent of email. So it's like you send a letter to say Uttar Pradesh or to Delhi. So when you write something, say you're writing through a service, the postal service. So postal services guys can understand Hindi or English because it's a central government this one. So if you write address in say in your regional language such as Kannada, Tamil or Malayalam. So if you write address in those languages, it would probably get dropped in one of the mailboxes instead of going to Delhi. It will just get dropped in maybe in the Bangalore or Cochin, or maybe in the Delhi. So it's difficult to write a mail to some person who maybe he knows his regional language in Delhi, but the postmaster or postman won't understand the content, at least the header content. That header is nothing but here the address, so he won't understand. So even if the mail content has some understandable language, so if the header is wrong, so there is a problem. So this was the problem with American Online or the first mail services that came. So there was a need for a common protocol. So American Online was like they had a proprietary service, and if you send a mail from American Online, say Rediff mail was not able to receive it because it doesn't know how to unpack the packets that are received from the some one mail service. So then there are a lot of standardization organizations such as IATF and IEEE, and then 3GPP. All these are standardization organizations. So they came up with standardization. So okay, if you send a mail from one email box, so regardless of who is the vendor or who is the server owner, so the other person should be able to receive it. So it called for a standardization. So that format is nothing but MIME. So we'll something it stands for some mail exchange or something like that. You can look up that. So that was the standard format. So we'll just look at how this protocol was developed, how it works. So why there was a protocol? The protocol was there in order to support multiple vendors in the same ecosystem. So if you send a mail from rediffmail.com, you should be able to receive in your Outlook or Gmail or any place. So how is that done? Okay. So let us dig deeper into the email protocol. Okay. So let me just get into drawing mode. So this is like your you can imagine this as this is actually imbibed or the same idea that was there already. So when you send a mail through a postal service, it's exactly in terms of functionality, it's exactly the same. But in order to speed it up, there are several ways. There are no humans involved. So first we'll understand how the typically a mail is sent on postal service, and then we'll just map it to it so that we won't forget it. Okay. So this is one guy. Say you are sitting in Bangalore or someplace. So you will write a letter. So you'll write a letter, and then maybe you want to send it to say Delhi. That is your friend here. So in order to send mail from say Bangalore to Delhi, so you'll write a letter, write the address, say in English, and then you drop it into a mailbox. So your nearest mailbox, and the postman would come and pick this mailbox. Take that mailbox and collect all the letters, and he will go into his office. And in his office, you might have seen in the post office. So he will have what is this called? This is called some mailboxes. Say it will look like a wardrobe or small boxes. So each mailbox would be numbered or named. Say this is Mysore, this is Bangalore, and this is Cochin, and maybe the below entire row is some different states, another states or something like that. So what he's typically doing is he's trying to organize his mails into manageable pieces of chunk. So once you send say from Gmail to Rediff mail, what is happening is Gmail is nothing but like one server. It's like one head post office, and Rediff is like another head post office residing in some other state. Okay, so that is the analogy. And then you try to, when you send the mail, so the mail services look up, strip out the at this point the mail address, that is your name, something like John at gmail.com. So John is not important here. Only gmail.com is important here, because my aim is to forward this mail to Gmail server. That means the Gmail office. It's like from Bangalore to, I'm just trying to push it to Delhi. So at Delhi, until the post letter gets in the hands of the postmaster in Delhi, your name and the street name doesn't carry any value. So he or she looks only for the pin code or the last two lines of the address. So he looks at, okay, this is Delhi. Okay, Delhi, it should be sent to Delhi. So postmaster, it doesn't matter for them, because looking at the name, they won't be able to find you out. Okay. So for them, only the domain name is the important thing. So looking at the domain name, so postmaster just separates it into separate small boxes, and then from here it will be sent over courier. So you might have seen in the if you have traveled in the night in government buses, the people usually pack that all the mails into a sack of into a bag, and then they just put some seal into that and put it into the last seat or in the driver's seat. So that will be like a government courier service. Okay, so they put it there. So that is nothing but we are putting the packet onto the internet. So at this point, this is a different department. That means internet is a completely different this one. So in that bus, there are people, there are the couriers, maybe there are some other luggages, a lot of things. So the courier who is the transport is carrying this mail, and it is not specific to that mail service. That means our internet carries a lot of different packets. Say you're browsing, watching YouTube, watching Netflix. So all the packets are there, and then when you send email onto the network, so it just goes as a packet along with all these packets. So internet is just the carrier. So it is similar to our buses that travel from one city to another city. So once you send that, so from that bus, the postmasters pick up those and then do the same activity here. So they will separate it into different zones. Say in Delhi there are different areas, Karol Bagh, maybe Rajiv Chowk or whatever it is. So they separate it out, and then once it reaches to say Karol Bagh, so where the recipient is there, so that postmaster, for him now he knows that the last two lines or three lines, for him it doesn't matter because it has already reached Delhi. Now he looks for street name and then maybe house number and then your email IDs. So not email IDs, your name. So this is similar in internet as well. So once you send mail, so it sends to Gmail. So now it's a job of Gmail to find out who is John. So from this he will send it to John's email box. That is why that is the reason that we need to have unique email addresses. Right. So in this case, in our normal post office analogy, the entire text is one unique set. That means if there is a person called Shankar, there can be 10 Shankars in the same street. So how do you separate them? You need to say that, okay, in this street, in this house number, there is a person called as Shankar. So that is how we try to make this unique. So that uniqueness is done by all these mail service vendors. So john@gmail.com is not same as john@rediffmail.com. So now the entire email ID is different. So both are John, but they are residing in different servers. So that is how that is why email ID is unique. So that is about the one of the first protocols, that email ID should be unique for a given domain. So that is about first thing. So now let us look at how the internet works. So now we know that, okay, now this is how we send the mail. So we send it to the server, and then server's responsibility is to reroute it to certain inbox. Okay, so let me try it again. Okay, so that is about the analogy. So let us just imagine that there are two people who are actually connected over internet, and they want to exchange mails. And since there are no people here, that means there are no postmasters here, how is it achieved? So let us take this example. At receiving end, we have some protocol called as SMTP. You might have heard this, or you might have, if you have tried to aggregate multiple mails into your single mailbox. Say for example, if you have two mail IDs, one is something like john@yahoo.com and one is at john@gmail.com. Both are yours, and then you want to instead of logging into two systems, two windows and looking into mails, what you do is you kind of aggregate two mailboxes into one. So you want to receive all the mails at which are at yahoo.com, and then aggregate it into gmail.com. So what you do is you go to the settings options, and then there is something called as POP3 protocol, and then you have to specify your email address and then your password for that yahoo.com mail. Once you configure this and say okay, so whatever the mail that you send or you get in yahoo.com will be directly put into your Gmail box. So what are we trying to do? We are trying to configure a certain protocol. So that means regardless of our mail service boxes, we can actually import things from different mail service. So how it is achieved? So at sending side there is a protocol, at receiving side there is a different protocol. Okay, So at sending this one, we call it as SMTP, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. Okay. At at receiving end, there are actually there are multiple protocols. Maybe a decade ago, now people have started using only a couple of them. That is POP and IMAP. So these are popular protocols. So if you do not have these protocols, what happens is you won't be able to configure anything, and the mail services are like separated out. So you cannot send mail from your office mail to your normal the personal email ID. So how is it achieved? Is achieved via something called as SMTP. So what this essentially does is it tells without people how are we going to communicate. So it lays down certain rules. So that rules is nothing but the diagram that you are seeing at in the right side. Okay. So this is the protocol. So in this case, what is happening is there are three people involved in this mail exchange. Okay, here. This diagram. So there are three people. One is Bob, one is Alice, and the boss. Okay. So Bob is the one who is sending mail, and Alice is the one who is receiving mail. And now we can, in fact, in post department, if you had to send two mails, you had to take Xerox copy and send it, say, make the address different. And for example, if you are sending say there was a marriage in your at home, and the content is the same thing, what you do is you take a printout, or there will be all the kids will be writing the addresses and then pasting it and then sending the mail. It's just like the same content is sent to multiple people. In this case, we have, since the data is transferred electronically, what you can do is, if you just put the multiple email addresses in the to box or the BCC box, so it gets automatically duplicated. Okay, so Bob is sending mail to two people, Alice and the boss. So there are two people. So sender is Bob and receiver are these two. Okay. So how are they able to communicate? So in olden days, maybe in 90s, so there used to be this email service. So what you had to do is kind of you had to log into the server. So you will be maybe some researchers who are like working in educational institutes, you cannot talk to them. So they had to log into their server, and then they had to look into their email box. So it is something like, let me just get out of this. I wanted to show you that. Ubuntu. Okay, so this, I'll just open one Linux terminal and just show you how it was done. Okay. So So usually when you log into your office Linux system or your school Linux system, you'll see something like what is that? Okay, fail to manage. Okay, that email service is not there. So what you can do is I'll just show you. It's not installed. Okay, let's not spend more time there. So you had to log into a system, and then you had to tell something like, okay, from what are the mails that I have received in this server. So you had to specifically log into say in this example. So this is your server. So you had to like telnet into that, or SSH into that, SSH or telnet into that, and then you open a mail service. And then the mail service is hosted onto this particular certain protocol, because all the protocols has to be hosted on a certain port. Okay, so once you enter into that, so it's like the one PC is communicating with another PC. So this is your email box, and this is your PC. You log into this, and then you say that okay, I am. Once you log in, it says that okay, this is the server, and this is this client. So S stands for server, and C stands for client. So once you log in, it will say that, it will say hello, I am the email box, and then sender says that okay, glad to meet you. And then in order to start sending a mail, you had to actually type comments saying that I'm going to write a mail. So first you need to write your email address. So this is my from address, and then server says okay, I got your email ID, that is fine, okay. He says, server says okay, and then you say in the next command, you say that or receipt to send to Alice. Then he says okay, I get that. So first step, second step, and then you say you can also add multiple recipients, same command, and then you keep adding the recipients and say okay. Server says okay. So once you have this header formed, so that is your two addresses. Once you have logged in, so one it's logged in, and then you are typing two addresses. So first email address, second email address, and then you have this, and then you say that okay, now server doesn't know you have whether the why do you want to write commands for this. That is because server doesn't know to differentiate between different parts of the email. So different parts are nothing but your to address, your mail text, your subject line, and all these things. Server doesn't know. So there needs to be an understanding between the server and the client. So that is why we use multiple commands to tell that okay, this is the addresses, these are the data. So that once you send, you say that okay, these are my intended recipients. Server says okay, and then you say there is a command called as data. So you enter this command called as data, and then server now knows that okay, whatever is coming, that is the data. So you type your all your text, your subject line, and all these things. This is your complete text. So okay, now I have entered the data and I am typing in. So how does the server know that the data that you are entering is the end of the data? That means you can keep on typing, right? So there must be some kind of a message, unique key or unique set of keys to tell the server that okay, I have done with my typing the content. So that differentiator is nothing but this guy. It says that once you say okay, data is coming in, server says that okay, end data with this crlf dot again crlf. Cr is nothing but we studied in one of the classes, carriage return. So this carriage return is nothing but if you remember, I was giving an analogy, because the computers are evolved from the typewriters. So the idea of the computers, that like you type in something and you get something out of it. So they wanted to imitate the typewriter. So the carriage return is nothing but once you try to enter a line, and then if you want to go to a new line, you have to like push the carriage or the one which is holding the paper into your right side, and then again type, and then for every line you have to kind of set the paper to next line and then push it again to your right side or left side depending on the type of the typewriter. So that is why it is called as carriage return. And line feed is nothing but you are turning the paper right for the next line. So carriage return is one key and the line feed is one key. That key is nothing but your enter key on your PCs. So that is why that enter key is like this. Okay. So it used to be like this. Nowadays it's just enter key. So this tells us that this is a carriage return. So this was because the typewriters had this kind of key. So PCs or the keyboards started having this, and then nowadays, since to optimize the keys, then now there is only one key for enter. So that is the idea. That means uh, all these circles, why are we trying to do? To make sure that the line is ending. So at this point of time, how do you know that the letter is ending in your normal inline letter or the postcard? So that is like, okay, regards, you write something like regards, and then you say bye, goodbye, or something like that. So that is the end of your letter. Now, or in the physical paper, if it is just the end of the paper, that is it. So in this electronic media, there is no such thing, because it's an infinite byte data stream. So in order to find out in that infinite byte data stream, which is the ending, so we enter something like, you enter a new line and a dot and one more new line. That means it is an ending of the message. So that is why in this area you might see that there is client has entered one dot. So this, after Bob, this is an enter here, new line. So new line is one carriage return, line fade, and another carriage return is here, and this dot is here. So that is how the mail service server knows that you are ending the data. So once you finish entering your message, so there should be a way to send it. So that sending is nothing but, once you enter, now the server knows that is your ending, and server says that, okay, now I am done with reading your taking input from you, and now you are good to go, and this message is queued at some number. So it will give a queue number. It's just like your courier service, he will give you a receipt, right? So it is just like that receipt. So that receipt doesn't mean that it will be delivered for sure. It is just that it is a communication that, okay, you have just given us a request to send. So maybe in transport, maybe there is a flood, or there is an accident, or some unfortunate event, and then all the mails may get lost. Okay, so maybe in terms of computers, maybe that server you are sending, maybe Gmail will be down for some time or something, because I think 2 days back there was a problem in Gmail service. It was down for a couple of minutes. So similarly, in such cases, you won't be able to send mail. So that is why it is put as a queue. So it's very rare that the popular mail services go down. But the idea is, once you send a mail, it goes, all your mails will go and sit as a one of the elements in the queue. So once it is queued up, and the mail server reads that queue and sends it to this protocol. This protocol will make sure that the email is received. So since we are only focusing on sending mail, so usually you won't be writing code to read emails, because reading email will be so usually you won't write code, because that's a rare thing. So most of the times you will be sending automated mails. You won't be reading automatic mails, because the recipient who is reading the mails will be an actual person. So he won't use the code. So that is why, of course, you can look at the library and read the mail. That's a different task, but we only focus on how to send a mail. So once we send the mail, so now it is, the recipient is a person. Maybe he'll receive in Gmail or Rediff mail, whatever is his inbox, and he will read the mail. So this is a complete protocol. So if you just have to revise it, the protocol is nothing but, you log into a system. Once you log into system, let me change the color. Once you log into this particular system, it says that, okay, now you have logged in, welcome, and all these things, because that is because it has to know that whether you are registered or not. Okay, so that is why you kind of log into Gmail, right? So if you have an email ID, you have to log into your Gmail service, and then start sending email. Without logging in, it is not possible. Okay, so that is the authentication level, and then you start typing mail content. So in the to address, you put mail addresses, and automatically your from address will be filled. So that is why you don't have to write this, and then you just type in all these things. So automatically inside the Gmail service that you are using, so it will automatically do this ending of the message, and the from address, subject, and all this is actually they are part of data. So that is all abstracted for you as a form feed. So you can there is a form for subject, there is a form for CC and BCC, there is a form for to address and from address. So all these are actually part of data you're sending. Only thing that is there for as your headers or your true addresses, and everything else is data. Okay, so now we have understood how the mail service is brought up and what are the protocols inside that. So the reason that we need to understand is because whatever you're sending, so if you're attaching a file, we think that it's a different entity, but actually it is a part of the data itself. So everything fits into the data except the two email addresses. Okay. So data contains pictures, data contains your attachments, data may contain video files and all these services, but finally at the server level they are just byte streams. So it is the responsibility of the mail service guys to differentiate these items into various different components, and then give it to you as different components. So that is internal implementation of these servers. Okay. So that is about all this protocol and why the protocol is required. So protocol is required to make sure that there is a interoperability between all the mail service guys. Okay. So Gmail already all now they are using the same this one. So what happens if you have your own mail protocol? The thing is, you won't you will be happy. So all the users must be registered to your mail service and access your mails. So they won't be able to send the mail outside the organization. So that is the problem. So that is why this protocol is put in place. Okay. So that is about the protocol. Okay. So once this is understood, now coding is actually the small part. So let us get into the code. Now you can copy paste from anywhere. So the thing is, you just need to understand it. Okay. So this piece of code I have just copied from gigs for gigs. I have put put the link here. You can read about that. Okay. So now what are all the data that we have in hand currently in our hand, that is ready to be sent. So if we look at this reports, what we did was so far. So this is our basic skeleton code. We are just improvising, putting the parameters and the written values. So what do we have? We have first we have input as JSON, and we extracted some things out of it and put them as converted that data into Excel sheet, and then we also converted that data into interested subscription data, and then we extracted news. So these are the three items. That is your user specific data that is here, the Excel sheet, and the news. So these are the three things. Okay. So that we have ready, that we can send it to the send mail. So we'll just this is our next step. Step 6, send mail with above data. So what is the data that we have? user specific data. So that is our actual feature, user specific data. Let me just separate this out. User specific data, and then we have XLS attachment, and then we have news. So these things are to be sent to this mail service. Okay, so let us just map our understanding to the code. So this is actually a simple code because it looks bigger because we have added multiple comments, and then we have multiple new lines. So just to separate them out. Okay, so it's 80 lines, so if you make it half, it will be something like 40, and then again if it's about 20 lines actually. So so what are the things that we learned from our mailbox? Okay, I have created a temporary mailbox. This is the username, and this is the password. So what is that? We receive and we send. So let us try to understand the library. So this library is, as I told you, there is a protocol called as SMTP. So this is the protocol. So that protocol is nothing but abstracted into a library that is nothing but SMTP library. So this takes care of actually sending it, and then this library called as email is designed to handle your email because protocol doesn't know what is the content. Maybe it is having a video, it has an Excel sheet, it has some other content. Okay, whatever the content is. So that is not that doesn't matter for SMTP. So what he says is, okay, I have a port which is ready, and I am ready to send whatever you are ready to you have in the data part. So all this data part will be handled by a library called as email. So we will look at what is MIME. MIME is nothing but this multi-purpose internet mail extension. This is one of the standardized way to send mail. Of course, you can write your own code to put the data in your own way, but that will cause different problems because one mail service won't be able to decode the mail of another mail service. That is why we have this MIME. So using that, we have multi-part text and base. We'll look at each one of these. Okay. So we'll go line by line. So so now you have a picture of email in your mind. So normal email. So what you do is you kind of make objects out of your classes. So those classes are defined inside these libraries, and these are those classes here: my multipart, my text, my base, and encoders. So we look at each line and we'll understand why it is required. So it is just that you kind of instantiate objects out of this. This is our message. This is nothing but our this part, this data part, complete data part. So why it is called as multi-part is because we can support multi parts in the mail. That means we can send text, you can send pictures, you can send videos and all attachments and all these things. So that is why we need to use this particular. If you want to simply send a text, you can you can skip this and you can simply use MIME text. Okay. So this is this one. So once you have this my multi-part, now let me just. So inside this you are just embedding these things. So what are these things? So these things are nothing but our content. So let me just to try more. Okay. So this is like an object. So just remember it is something like a basket. So inside this basket, I am just putting in from address. So your from address is filled, that is which will be automatically filled by your Gmail service. you are using Gmail. So to address, you are going to fill to address. It has maybe colon separated, semicolon separated, comma separated, or whatever. So you're going to fill that to address, and subject line you're going to fill. So it is just like a big box. Inside that big box, you're going to fill up smaller things. So just like our RE regular expression module, we had an object, and inside those objects we have sub objects. Okay, and after having this, we have to put the body, that is nothing but the actual body in the mail. So that is nothing but, one is your text, another is your attachment. So attachment is coming in below. And for that we need to use another object. Okay, so this we have embedded the text. So this text is nothing but our news plus our subscription specific data. Okay, that is like Karnataka, and then it has some active number of cases, 334, something like that. So maybe multiple states here. Okay, this is our text. So we just embody that text here, and then we have to send our attachment. So that to send that attachment, we are using an object called as MIME base. So the reason is that we have to specifically tell that what kind of object I am embedding. So this is a protocol. So since we are sending Excel sheet, in fact you can say that this is this needs to be opened in some application, and this is of type Excel sheet, but we are sending this as an octet stream. In fact, you remember that we can send anything in this in octet stream, because it's just a byte stream. So in order why do we need to send it as an octet stream? Is because it is possible that in internet you can somehow gain the access, or if you send it to some other mailbox which is not sophisticated, it will look for, if it is an Excel sheet or if it is specific data, it will try to automatically open it and try to read the data out of it. So to stop that, we can send it as a byte stream. But sophisticated mail services like Gmail and all this popular email vendors, they can actually look into that and find out what kind of data it is. So that is why when you send an attachment, there will be a thumbnail saying that okay, this is a video and this is something. So it can recognize what type of application it is. So that is why we need to use this separate object to embed the attachment. So this is anyways a simple text. So I have used simple MIME text and have just embodied that. But to send the attachment, I need to use another object so that the servers know that okay, this is of this type and I need to open it. Okay, so that is about this part, MIME part. So you can okay, in order to send the mail, actually what you need to do is, it's just like you are loading data from one mailbox to another mailbox. So you need to read the entire file and put that as a payload, or else it's just like opening a file and reading it. So it is just reading it, and then you can in fact encode it to different there are different encoders. So usually base 64 is understood by all the vendors. So there are several encodings. So you just encode that particular byte stream into encode 64 base 64, and then you just simply set the header, and then you attach the mail. This you see that there was an object called as my multi-part. So finally this multi-part will also contain this attachment. Okay. So that means we have a small object which is of type MIME base inside my multi-part. So my multi-part will have text and then now attachment. Okay, so once I have attachment, what is the total the basic idea here? You open the file, you read it into byte stream, and then you just encode it so that it is readable. It is The reason we need to encode it is because there are multiple different operating systems and multiple different technologies that are used to decode this. So in order to know what kind of data it is, all the PCs should know what kind of encoding it is. So that is why we try to encode it. So there are several encoding. This is most used. Okay. So then you attach that particular file. Okay. That is about it. And then finally, once you have, now I have created the attachment. Okay, fine. Now who is the guy who will send out this entire part? That is nothing but this protocol. So he is, whatever you have done is at user level. It is just like writing your mail. Maybe if you are sending a Rakhi, or if you are sending a greeting card in your school, that is what you are trying to do here. Until this part, you are writing your own things, and then you are submitting it to a postman. That postman is nothing but this guy, SMTP library. He doesn't know what is inside, so he will just take that, and he will just have an address. That means the post office is there in some place. So that address you need to specify. Okay, send that particular mail to this guy. So you are opening a port. So SMTP every vendor has their own ports. Gmail is hosted on 587. This is fixed for Gmail, and this is your Gmail address of that. That means this will be mapped to a certain IP address in their server address. This DNS will take care to map that particular PC into this particular. This is just like www.google.com. Okay, so this is your mail domain name, and this is the port number. And then once you have this, it's like just like opening a port. It's just like you are filling up a form in a courier service. Now courier service is open. Now this start TLS is nothing but it's for security purpose. That means once you send the mail, it is possible that someone can open the mail without your consent and read it. So in order to do that, you kind of write it in an encoded fashion. Maybe you have your own. In our school days, we used to write letters to our friends, something like A is equal to 1, B is equal to 2, and things like that, until Z is equal to 26, and then we used to write letters in numbers. That means it is just a way to encode your data into something more secure, so that your parents or teachers doesn't read if you are in a hostel. Okay, so that is a similar way, but TLS uses a slightly sophisticated thing. It uses public key, private key encryption. So it kind of multiplies your text into some with a hash or with a public key, and then it won't be readable. So that is, it depends on what type of keys. That is why you might have heard that once you log into your banking system, it says that 128-bit encryption. That means they're using 128 bits to encrypt your each chunk of data. Okay, so if you use 2 bits of data, it is easy to crack. So 128 bits, it takes too many years to crack. So that is why you see that. So that is about a TLS. So this is just for security. In fact, you can skip this if you want to send mail as is. Okay, then you need to, okay, now I have opened the server, and then you need to fill in your authentication. That means the postmaster must know that you are a genuine person. So maybe you need to write your phone number or something like that. Okay, similarly you need to log into your system. So once you log in, okay, now you have access this. This is anyways open. Now finally you send the total message, you just encode it as a string. Okay, so for him it is just the postmaster, it is just a message, so it doesn't matter. So he will encode everything as one box, and he will put it in the box as a string, and then he will there is a function called a send mail. He takes in to address and from address, and then the entire thing goes as text. In fact, in this text, what do we have? So let us look back. What do you have in this text? This text, this is not a normal text. This is actually a byte string. So maybe it is something like just a byte string, some hex numbers, 0x63, 0x A, B, A6 something. So this is just a byte string. Inside this, what do we have? we have a big box having this is multi-part mail, this object, and this object has text inside this actual text. This text contains news and subscriber specific data, and then we also have an attachment, XLS sheet. So these are the three things that we are trying to send. So these two things are embedded as a bigger object, a multi-part object, and that multi-part object is we have defined an object called as message. That complete message goes as a string at post office. This is at SMTP level. So he blindly sends because he doesn't bother what is inside your text. Okay. Then once you do this, s.quit will say that tell that okay, close this port. I don't need this port anymore. So you just come out of that. Okay. Now your job is done. So this is the flow of the mail. Okay. So any questions, any doubts, you can ask me. And what I'll do is I think we're off the time. What I'll do is I'll send a mail to your email addresses with the data that we have extracted at this place. Okay, so you will get I already have your mail addresses from your registration. So what I'll do is I'll fill this data, subscription data. So I'll add your email IDs and maybe few states, random states, and then what I'll do is I'll plug it here. So here I need to I need to write a for loop. Why do you need a for loop? That is because I need to send user specific data, right? So for a particular user and then his content. So this is your user specific content in user state info send mail. So this also will contain news plus your attachment. Okay. So all these things will be sent to send mail, and then that mail will has this subject line, mail text, and all these things. So and an attachment. So we'll use the same function. So I'll just copy this so that I have parameters here. Where is my reports here? So this is my interface. So I'm not going to change the interface. So there are additional parameters. So once you have this, so you will receive a mail with specific data and also the news. So of course the news and all these things are not touched. It will work as is. Okay. So that is all about the mail service. So we have covered quite in depth. Where is my sharing screen PPT? Okay. Here. Okay. So this is the real thing that you need to remember. Now I'm sure that when you're sending mail, these things come to your mind that okay, there is a server and there's a port ready for accepting the mail, and then it goes into the queue. Why is this queue required? So how do you know that there is a queue? So in fact, if you send a mail in Gmail, so there is a feature that it waits for a couple of seconds to undo your mail sending. Maybe you're writing a mail to your manager in a hurry or in anger. So you change your mind after 2 seconds. You remember that, oh, I shouldn't have sent that mail. So you can actually cancel that. So in Gmail, so in fact in previous days I was telling you that you can log into your server and then do so. People used to write mail, and you can also log into your server and then change the mail content in the later point of time. So that used to happen in previous days. Now you have your own mail service which does all these things for you. Okay. So that is about the mail service, and we have started from the simple protocol, simple post office analogy, and then we took the code from our ready-made code, and then we understood the steps that we are doing here exactly matches to the steps that we discussed here. Okay, the steps are same. Only thing is there is additional security and all this stuff. Okay, So that is how the mail service works. So now once I'll use this and I need to write a little bit of code here. So I'll write that and then I'll send mail to your email boxes. Okay. So that is actually our basic requirement requirement fulfillment. That means we have actually covered our requirement. So what are we? Okay, so we have email and we have Excel sheet and we have news. So this is our basic requirement. So in the coming classes, what more are we going to do? So the thing is, this is just fulfillment of requirement. So in the software industry, there's a lot that happens. So we will use some of the concepts that we have learned to make code better and to get some statistics out of code, like code quality and things like that. And then what are the challenges to insert a new feature? How do we insert a new feature? And also we'll discuss, there is a request to use database. So we will also cover in one of our sessions how to use database, and then how to insert and extract things from database. We'll understand what is database first, how it is different from the normal file, and then things like that. And also we'll try to make a command line application out of this. That is because this will be running as a everyday job in your system, and for that purpose we need to have a command line application. Okay. So we'll learn all this stuff. So that is why this is like requirement is complete, but there is a lot of work to do. So we will do that. Okay. So you'll get a mail from this email ID. Okay. And then I'll submit the code to GitHub as well. You can try out various different things. Okay. Okay. So that's all.